Hey everyone, what's going on? It's me, Jamal. Now today we're actually going to be changing the brake pads and rotors on my C5 Corvette Z06. Now if you remember back to my last video with the wheels, I told y'all that I would be doing this, so today is finally the day that I'm going to be changing them out. So basically what I did was I bought a brake pad and rotor kit off of eBay. It was like a $200 kit. I know it's not fancy, you know, they're slotted and drilled, you know. They're not like super high quality brakes, whatever, but I've ran them before on other cars and I haven't had issues with them, so I went ahead and bought them. They're cheap enough to where even if I don't like them, I can end up switching them out. It won't be that much of a loss. So here are the rotors I got. So basically they're slotted and drilled. They're black, but this black surface here, whenever you brake, will rub off and turn silver. So basically you'll have a black hat with like a silver brake face. So hopefully those won't look too bad on there. And then the pads I got are ceramic. I believe they're power stop pads. I've had them on a G35. They weren't bad. The reason I went ceramic for me was on the front. It brake dusts really bad, and it gets really annoying to clean. Like, it gets dirty after a few days. So hopefully the ceramic can cut down on the brake dust. I know ceramic pads aren't as good as like other pads when it comes to braking, but honestly I'm not tracking the car. I'm just daily driving and make a few hits here and there, and I think it should be fine for what I use it for. So without any more further ado, let's go ahead and get these put in. Okay guys, so I've already went ahead and took off the wheel. And one thing you want to make sure before you start doing this is make sure you take the cap off the brake fluid reservoir and make sure the brake fluid is kind of low. I don't know if you guys can see in there, but it's a little bit above half. And so basically whenever you compress the brakes, whenever you compress the calipers to get the new brake pads in, because the new brake pads are thicker, that brake fluid level is going to rise. And basically you want to make sure that it doesn't overflow out of the brake fluid reservoir. So I actually did have to take a little bit out of mine. I've already done that. I just kind of pumped a little bit of that fluid out. But yeah, we should be able to go ahead and get started. We're going to start on the fronts here, and then we'll do the backs. So I've got it all jacked up. I'm just going to leave it on the jack stand. I mean on the jack. And then first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take the brake pads out. So in order to get the brake pads out, you need a crescent wrench. I'm just using an adjustable one, and a 15mm wrench here to undo this bolt back here. So make sure you have it counterclockwise. Basically you want to grab this nut here and hold it, or this, yeah, hold that there, and then get on the back side of this and undo it. Then get that bolt out there, then you should be able to just pull this back, and then the pads should come right out. Now I'm going to go ahead and compress my caliper at this point. You don't have to, but you can do it later, but I like to just do it while it's hanging off right here. It's more convenient to do it. So basically I have a C-clamp, and you want to put the C-clamp on the back of the caliper, and then you just kind of want to screw it in. So I'm going to put the brake pad against the two pistons here on the caliper, just so that I don't damage the pistons compressing them, and then just going to start screwing them in, and that should compress them. It's a lot easier if you actually have a tool they make for this called a brake spreader. I don't have one, so I just have to kind of use a C-clamp to do this. It's no big deal though. We do want to make sure and keep an eye on the brake fluid level. Make sure it doesn't overflow or anything. That should be good right there. We can check after we get the rotor put on, but I think that should be good. So now I'm just going to go ahead and put the caliper back together without the pad in it, just so that when I take it off, it doesn't fling around or anything. So I'm just going to put that on there hand tight for now, because I'm going to open it back up anyways. Okay, so coming behind the caliper, there's two 21mm bolts that you have to get off. There's one right there. I don't know if you can see it behind the... Yeah, the two you can see right there. One's in the foreground there, and then one in the background. Those are two 21mm bolts, and those are basically what holds the caliper on, so you just have to pull those off. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so now that they're loose, one thing I forgot to do was just put a lug nut back on here to kind of hold the rotor in place. Just to make sure it doesn't fling around or anything while I was doing that. You saw how I did that. So I broke these. Now I'm just going to go ahead and pull them off. Both these bolts are the same, so when you put them back on, it doesn't really matter where they go. There's one of them. And okay, now that the caliper's off, you're just going to go ahead and undo the lug nut here and then take the rotor off. Boom. And don't forget to take this time to kind of clean off just kind of spraying brake cleaner. Make sure everything's good there. And now to put everything back on, you just kind of repeat the steps in reverse order. So we're going to go ahead and put the new rotor on. I'm going to screw it in again here. Then we're going to go ahead and put the caliper on. Make sure you don't tangle the line or anything here. I always put the bolts in by hand before you hit it with your wrench, just to make sure you don't strip anything out. Okay, I've got those in hand tight. I'm going to go ahead and tighten them up now. Make sure these things are tight. You don't want these coming off. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and undo this back bolt here again and then put the pads in. So these are the two pads that it comes with. The one that has this bracket on here goes towards the outside, and the one that's just flat goes on the inside. Before I put them on, I like to put a little bit of disc brake quiet on there, just to make sure that I don't get any type of squeaks or anything like that. On here, just kind of like rub it in. Okay. Now the brake pads are in, we should be able to just slide the caliper over it. Yeah, and like I thought, my caliper's not compressed enough, so you go ahead and compress it a little bit more. Hopefully that should do the trick. Boom. Go ahead and throw that. I'm going to go back to my 15mm to tighten that caliper bolt there. So again, we're going to hold this nut here, and then we're just going to stick this on the back of the bolt and tighten it. These are on there pretty tight, so make sure you get them on there tight as well. Boom, that's it. That's all it takes right there. You just gotta put the wheel back on, you're done. So that was the front. I'm just gonna clean some stuff up, and then I'll come back to y'all whenever we start the rear. Alright guys, so here we are on the rear. The rear is pretty much the same. The two caliper bolts are 21mm. One thing on the rear though is make sure your emergency brake isn't on, because obviously the emergency brake is behind this rotor here, so if it's on you won't be able to get the rotor off. So the emergency brake's off, I have it in first gear, I'm jacked, I'm good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and just, for this one, I'm not actually going to pull the brake pads out, I'm just going to go ahead and take the whole caliper out, because it's not as tight in the back, so the caliper should just come off and the brake pad should come off with it. So let's go ahead and get the caliper off. Alright, this should come right off. Boom. We're off. And undo this. And the rotor should come out. Come on. Boom. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and undo the brake pad part of it, just like we had done on the fronts. So I'm gonna hold that one there, and then okay. Now we're off. And now I'm going to go ahead and compress the piston. Okay, it should be good. Yeah, that's compressed now. Go ahead and throw in the back brake pad. Just like that. Let's forward a bit. Throw in the front here. And we're in. Alright, and the rears are done. So now all that's left to do is screw the brake reservoir cap back on, put the wheel back on, and everything should be good. Alright guys, that's going to go ahead and do it for me. Now I'm going to have to wait for this rain to clear up before I can seat the brakes. Basically, after you put new brake pads and rotors on, or actually after you put new pads on, you want to get them seated correctly. So basically what I'm going to do is I'll end up driving up, get about 40 miles an hour and firmly press on the brakes without activating the ABS. And you want to do that about 20 times. Just firmly press on them and come to a complete stop and go again, let them cool off, do it again, and that's how you get the brake pads to seat correctly. That actually is pretty fun to do, believe it or not. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. I hope you guys did learn something. Again, I'm not a professional mechanic, so if I did something wrong, obviously don't be too hard on me because I'm not a professional mechanic. And also, I like to remind you guys to always do this stuff at your own risk. Anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Please comment, like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.